But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email john@nufcmatters.com.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true.
And it feels alright when they come and say to you, you're the only thing that makes us all believe. And it feels alright where the worlds collide. Manipulation stands to make us break.
What time you said is coming over you. You wish it upon a star. You wish it on a star. You are, you are, you are. You fight back, it's an all-out attack. It feels like I've been taken on the world's machine. Because I want it more than anyone can dream. You look back and it's all in the past. You tell me how you live by all the things you do. Well, you can be yourself, but maybe I'm not you.
And it feels alright when they come and say to you, you're the only thing that makes us all.
Good afternoon. Welcome to NUFC Matters, the Joe Allon show, and it's another happy show. Joseph, what a result, bro.
What can I say, Bonnie lad? Honestly, oh man, celebrate. That's what I'm saying is, Steve. Celebrate that win, right, for the next few days, because I've been in town this morning and the place is buzzing, right? I mean, we've won 2-0. We've got one foot in, we've got one hand in, one arm in, we've got one eye and one ear in. We've even got one of Lewis Hall's in, right? We're that close to the final. And what was done was such a professional performance. I've got to say, Steve, 45 minutes again, I thought we were fantastic. I really did. And Isaac, right, he's been man of the match straight away. But I'm also giving every single other player credit for putting a shift in. That was absolutely top-class professional football, honestly. And we'll come to that in a minute. But talking about Isaac, yeah, I've got to say, his all-round play last night for me is the best I've seen him. I watched him every single minute of that game, right? And his all-round play, everything from what you want to see him when he's closing down from the front in that press that we do and bring off so well. But not only that, we don't realise how good his feet are, Steve, you know. He's a good player, you know. He's up there as a great player. And he does the really hard things very, very simply. Yes, he scored the goal, and yes, he assisted in the other goal, and that's his job. But when I'm seeing Alexander Isak, right, when he's given the ball away on the halfway line, and then he ran 60 yards to the left back to help cover with Lewis Hall, and that's the attitude, and that's what's springing around at the football club at the minute, you know, and that's down to the bloke that I'm giving more credit to than anybody. We didn't give him the much credit that he deserves, right? But I'm telling you now, Eddie Howe pulled the biggest masterstroke last night. 45 minutes were great. the first 15 minutes, which it's happening a lot in this run that we've had, will go off the boil a little bit in the second half. And Eddie had the gumption to change it after an hour or so. You know, there was still 30 odd minutes left with add-ons to the game of football. And we'd never went past the line. But what Eddie did was he changed it. He's brought off arguably the top striker in Europe in Isaac. He's brought him off and he set his stall out. He said to Arsenal, listen, we're 2-0 up. We've got 30 minutes to play. What had been monumental in the way that the setup was done was we had two massive solid lines, right? That was not impregnable, because it was impregnable. But the fact is, you know, there was a few scares and we're going to have to put up with that. But we've got a goalkeeper behind that's had 4 out of 5 clean sheets. You know, we've had them two solid lines and Isaac working from the front. But also, what he said, Eddie Howe, is come and beat us. Come and get past us. And, you know, and he threw the gauntlet down. You know, and credit's got to go to Jason Tyndall. Credit's got to go to Graham Jones. Credit's got to go to all the backroom staff that doesn't get the well-dones that they deserve. Because this is a massive thing for the whole football club. We're in unbelievable form. I'm absolutely buzzing. I'm bursting. Because for once in my life, you know, like I say, it's all right to celebrate now. Let's not get carried away later, right? When that game comes, we'll sit down and work it out, right? We'll do that. But it's okay to celebrate it now. And I just thought, in the whole professional display that was put on, and also how fabulous. You were one of them there. How brilliant were them fans, man? I was totally buzzing, and it just made up for the fact that we went there in such a professional manner, and just all well done to everybody. Just blown away, mate, honestly.
Great night, mate, honestly. I mean, great day all round. The train we went down on was absolutely chocker full of Tyne fans, and, you know, got down there, and atmosphere was great. 6,000 fans, you know, cheering the lads on, and the team responded. And the team's been great. I can't remember a spell where we've played Manchester United away, Tottenham Hotspur away, and Arsenal away, and come back with three wins. I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible. I was speaking to Rob Lee earlier today, and Rob was saying exactly the same thing. You know, this team is special. And when you hear one of the entertainers saying the team is special, then, you know, it really is. But game management, there was a bit of that. There was block tackles. Somebody just said there. It was like murder ball, which was Arteta's blaming the ball. We'll come to that in a minute. But you know what? In the grand scheme of things, that really, and I've obviously, you know, not really missed many games under Eddie Howe, and that again felt like a milestone moment because of the enormity of the game. It's a semi-final. I've been to semi-finals before. I've been to semi-finals at Old Trafford. I've been to semi-finals at St James's Park, and you know, it's that really did feel like a monumental win because Arsenal are at home. They're a good team. They're a strong team. We've played them already this season. A lot was made of Saka's absence, but we beat them with Saka in the team. Lewis Hall had him in his back pocket. Last night was a different team altogether, and they threw the kitchen sink at us last night. They made the substitutions. They brought on what you would conceive were better players, maybe than they started with. Maybe that was Arteta's in his mindset and his plan. But Arteta just can't cope with Eddie Howe's Newcastle United. He can't, and the players that we have got, as Les Stapleton says in the chat, are becoming the achievers, and they need to just take that last step, get into the final, and then, hopefully, bring that trophy back home. Standing next to Bobby Moncur last night. Bob Moncur was there with his son, just in front of us, and he was just watching on in bewilderment and excitement like everybody else, and what it must feel to him that, perhaps he was looking last night at the next team, the next captain, maybe to stand up in front of thousands of Newcastle fans with a trophy in his hand. It could happen, and I hope it does happen when Bob's here, because he would be as pleased as the next Newcastle fan. But yeah, my man of the match. It's always different when you're watching the game at home and you're watching the game live.
I don't think you're far wrong. I thought Isak was superb last night. You know, he really did put a shift in. I've been critical of him slightly in the sense that, you know, sometimes he does just switch off or go missing at the end of games. But I thought last night he was superb. Tonali, for me, was he edged it just. Tonali was brilliant last night, and he was putting out fires in that last 20 minutes. He was literally going from here to there to everywhere, and his engine last night was tested, and you know, it came up trumps again, past the MOT with flying colours. And Lewis Hall, again, that kid, you know, and he is a kid. Honestly, he is becoming. He's becoming more and more mature with each performance, and you could pick any one of them three, but then you'd be remiss to miss Anthony Gordon out because he was superb as well. So it was a good team performance. Dan Burn, he's from Blythe. I'm sure we've mentioned it many times. He's, again, colossal performance last night. And when you think about Botman has come back from injury and again had to play last night, another great performance. I haven't checked these stats out yet, but I tell you now, those 2 block tackles were just as important as the 2 goals that were scored. And we got a 0. Dubravka was in goal. We got a 0, and he was called upon last night, and he did the business. So all round, the team performance was excellent. And, you know, quite rightly, you pointed out it's half time. Eddie Howe pointed out it's half time. It's not done yet. But what a way to start this semi-final. 2-0 up at Arsenal, and all to play for at St James's Park. And you've mentioned the fans. Fans were excellent last night. Can you imagine what it's going to be like in the semi-final at St James's Park, Joe? I mean, War Flags had called for Newcastle fans to take scarves down, and it made a wonderful display as the teams were coming out, all the fans waving the scarves above their head. I can imagine it's going to be something special for the semi-final at St James's Park in a month's time. And it was great. And I loved as well afterwards. I mean, I've only caught up with the interviews this morning coming back, but listening to Anthony Gordon in particular, we've said it before, we'll say it again, I'm sure, that he's very, very humble. You know, he's such a switched on young man. You know, not the kind of person I think people thought Anthony Gordon was before he signed for the football club. But that Gordon celebration last night, which I guess maybe when people were watching it live would think it was a bit of a mockery, maybe, but I loved his explanation on the interview this morning where he said it was a tribute to one of the players that he admired the most in Thierry Henry. And that, you know, that's why he did it. And I thought that was brilliant. You know, it wasn't him trying to get out of a situation. That was his celebration. That was his reason. And also made us laugh when he talked about Murphy, because Murphy, I'm not sure whether the cameras picked it up, but Murphy actually kneeled down at his feet, picked up a pretend crown and put it on his head. And apparently those two have got this little celebration thing going where when one person scores, they pass the crown back to the other person. And I just thought it was great. Just shows the kind of unity they've got in that squad, that they're thinking about things like that. And Anthony said as well, when he got into the dressing room last night, he says, when I got into the change rooms last night, he says, well, I had belief. He says, and I knew we were going to win. And I was like, wow, what kind of dressing room, change room, call it what you want, has Eddie Howe created there, Joe? That's something special. If you could bottle that and sell it, it would be worth millions.
Some great points, Steve. And obviously, you know, when you're going through the players like that, you would be remiss not to mention Dan Burn, because for me, I've got to say, he doesn't do it every 3 weeks. He doesn't do it every 6 weeks. We get told he can't do this and he can't do that. But you know what Dan Burn is? Dan Burn is 100% black and white. And I swear to you, if there's ever been a bloke that put that shirt on, and he had the captain's armband last night, he puts his body on the line every single minute that he can for Newcastle United. And Dan Burn has been absolutely brilliant. And Eddie, I mean, it's not a headache for Eddie, because you know what? You want players breathing down players' necks. And yeah, we might play a side, hopefully, it'll be a professional side that they'll turn out at the weekend in the FA Cup. But you want players combating for places. And this is great for the squad. But also, you know, Sven Botman, for coming back for his second game, he was outstanding as well. And in them two, as a centre-back pairing, I don't know who the best centre-back pairing is, because every one of them's brilliant, you know. I mean, Fabian, you'd say, had a couple of off games when we had a couple of off games. But when Fabian's playing well, we play well, and he's a great player. So it's a great headache to have. But when we're talking about putting bodies on the line, you could see every single player put the bodies on the line last night. I've never seen them work so hard for one another. And then Tonali, I've got to mention him as well, because he was asked to play the holding role totally and sacrifice himself for the team, but did it remarkably well. And he's just a winner, isn't he? I mean, he just oozes class, the boy. And everything that we hoped for has happened in him as a player. Bearing in mind, he's been out for over a year, you know. And to play as well as he's playing now, he's a superstar, you know. But let's, again, you know, enjoy it. But we remember, we'll put a team out, hopefully, to win the cup game. But, you know, we will celebrate it, you know, and celebrate it so they should. You know, they deserve to do it. They went on an unbelievable run, you know. And when you see a team like that, when you run about Anthony Gordon saying we're coming in there knowing that we're going to win, it's like Isak with his goals. He'll be going out there, right? I was fortunate to get the best I ever got was 7 in 7 games for Swansea City, right? That's not for Newcastle United. But you're thinking when you're going out before a game, I'm going to score today. I know I'm going to score today. And you get in that mindset. And it is that atmosphere in the dressing room when you think, well, we're not going to lose today. We're going to win. And that is just so brilliant, the pass from player to player. And it's a magnificent spirit that they've got. And it's something that's been installed by Eddie, you know. And I'm putting the whole lot of that performance last night on Eddie Howe. Totally. And his staff, absolutely brilliant.
Credit to the lads who came on, honestly. I mean, my mate who I was at the match with, Andy, he turned to me and said, I think Howe's gone too early with that change, bringing in, you know, Longstaff, Kelly, etc. But, you know, he later explained, you know, that Williger took a knock. You know, he was struggling a little bit, run himself into the ground, of course, for the cause. Isak had got a little knock. So, you know, there was going to be some scrapes and bumps and whatever from last night, but you know, it was going to be Al-Alamo. You're playing Arsenal at home. Arsenal have won lots of trophies, and you know, Arteta wasn't going to lie down.
Steve, Arsenal, you know.
Well, they've gone 13 games unbeaten before last night.
Unbelievable. Nobody mentioned that.
Across all, yeah, well, of course they won't. Across all of these games, you know, they're no mugs, and those changes when you were there did feel a little early, but you know what? They were the right changes and at the right time. And I agree with you. How and his team deserve a hell of a lot of credit because they got it absolutely cock on last night. And that's all you could ask. So quite rightly, he is parking everything for now because it's a month away. There was tears from Martin Dubravka as he was walking around the pitch, still not getting any kind of any kind of story either way on this, really. There's lots of rumour and you know, you can't really substantiate it. But Dubravka being emotional last night probably tells the story that we're going to lose him sooner rather than later.
The Saudi club, Steve, on TV last night.
Yeah, I mean, it is a Saudi club. We've more or less been told he's going to Saudi and it's going to be for around about 8 million. You know, it sounds very much like Howe doesn't want to lose him. And that's understandable because, you know, the kid is playing well. We've certainly played a lot better in this last 8 games with him involved and with his distribution. It has worked a lot better, but I don't know. What's your feelings? Do you think he'll go? Eddie doesn't have much to do with this. In your day, managers made the decision. Managers drove to car parks and had a little brown envelope maybe to persuade somebody to go. Managers came to your house with a bottle of whiskey, Joe. So, you know, it's not like that anymore. Paul Mitchell's the man in charge of ins and outs, and maybe Eddie's not going to get much of a say, but he made his points fairly clear that he wants to keep Dubravka. So, I'm going to be interested to see how this pans out.
I would hope to keep Dubravka. I really would, because, I mean, you can't come into a team like that, cold as he did, and keep four clean sheets straight away. I mean, he let 1 goal in against Tottenham. He's had a clean sheet again last night. And yet he was coming for balls that pretty much, you know, he never got the right connection on couple of punches that he missed, but at the end of the day, he's kept goal again superbly well because he's ended up with a clean sheet. And I would really, really be gutted to see him go. I want you to explain about the ball with Arteta, because you wouldn't have seen, but me watching the telly, Arteta with 10 minutes to go, he's looking at his watch and going to the fourth official because Martin Dubravka has taken his time on a goal kick. And that tells me the manager for the opposition is hoying the towel in, right? Mm-hmm. And if he's querying about how many seconds the goalkeeper's taken for a goal kick, he's hoyed the towel in, and he knew then, and I knew Eddie's got you. He's done you again, mate. And when he shook hands with Eddie, he walked past him if it was like a breath of fresh air, and Eddie just showed his class and shook hands with all the rest of them on the Arsenal staff. You know, and at the end of the day, you know, when you've got somebody like Arteta, who, for me, he's always been that type that spat the dummy out. He was a bit like that as a player, you know. And I mean, and I'll say that about foreign managers. There's a different mentality to what we are, you know, and it's as simple as that. I stand by it. But, you know, you still, it's all right when you're winning to have that passion. It's great to have that, and he's a great winner. But I tell you what, he was sucking on lemons, by the way, last night. Get in, have a bit of that Arteta.
Yeah, exactly. It's just an amazing accomplishment for Newcastle. And I think it was interesting to hear a lot of people as well saying, you know what? I mean, I've seen a few old timers, people who, you know, were going maybe 10 years before me last night, and, you know, more or less saying exactly the same as me. God, we've put the miles in, Stevie. We've put the miles in, and now we're getting our reward, you know. And you know, people like Biffa from nufc.com, Daz Curry from NUSC, and a couple of those faces. Everybody who goes home and away will know you'll always see familiar faces. You never get to know their names, but you always know their faces. And you know, people coming up going, "Hey, God, it's fantastic, isn't it?" People with tears in their eyes, and it's like it is that feeling of all your Christmases have come at once, but it's also that feeling of Newcastle United have actually arrived now. And we've been waiting for this bus to arrive, you know, since we all started supporting the club. We've never had anything apart from a few promotions from the Championship or the old First Division to celebrate. Whenever we've got the cup finals, all we've had is, you know, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. We've always been, you know, going there to make the numbers up. But there's a real feeling amongst the support, and it clearly is the same amongst the players in the dressing room, that we can actually go out and we can actually win something. And that is the first time in my Newcastle United fan history that I can ever remember feeling like that. You know, yes, you can be confident. Yes, you can have a little bit of hope when you go to these FA Cup finals against Manchester United and Arsenal like we did back in the 90s. But for the first time in my supporting life, I predicted, you know, on here that would get a draw, but you know, when I seen the teams last night, I said to Andy, my mate, I said, I think we'll win this 2-1. And you know, you just never ever felt like that, you know, and you're saying it with a newfound confidence, and that's the thing, Joe. There's confidence is flowing through the team, but it's now flowing through the fans. Fans don't feel as if they're second best anymore. Fans don't feel as if we're just turning up to make the numbers. We actually feel as if we're going to do something. And if you keep that kind of mentality on and off the pitch, Joe, it's only going to lead to one thing, and that's a nice shiny trophy in the cabinet.
And I hope so, because I mean, I said since the Forest game and the penalty kicks, which was what the first round one of the Carabao Cup, I felt that this season was going to be it. And something like a penalty shootout like that can make a hell of a difference. And then when you go on and you just keep progressing like that, and yes, you always tend to err with caution, but I tell you what, there's not one game that we haven't deserved to win. You know, we're there on merit. And yes, everybody, me as well, I kept on saying, keep in the game, meaning don't be out of it for the second leg at St James's Park. Meaning, even if we went 1-0 down at Arsenal, a tough place to go, we'll still be in the match, but it wouldn't be 2 or 3-0 that we were down. Now Arsenal have got to come at us. Arsenal have got to play us, and us at St James's Park with a cauldron. It'll be unbelievable atmosphere, as we know, and the fans know that with the chance of getting to Wembley, this is a reality. of winning a trophy. And we've beat the Chelseas, and we've beat the Brentfords, and we've beat the Forests, and we've beat the Arsenals. These are the teams that are and were in the best form in the country, in the Premier League. You know, they've all been there. Whether they say they played a dodgy side against Chelsea, whatever, but everybody else has played the strongest team possible, you know. And I mean, at the end of the day, you can only beat what's in front of you. And at this time, Newcastle United are coming out. And like I say, on Sunday, put the team out. We'll have enough professionals to do a professional performance to progress into the next round of the Cup. Give the players that's on the fringe a chance to come and knock on the door, Eddie. Tell them, there you go. You're getting a chance. Don't do your talking here when you're giving it 6-0 to me on the training pitch and whatever, or come and knocking on the office. I'm giving you the opportunity to play in the team and try and keep your shirt, because that's how players act. That's how they react, you know. And it's all about willingness and action. And if a player if Fabian Schär plays on Sunday, you know, tell the lads that's got the shirts at the minute is Botman and Don Byrne. So it's up to Fabian to take the shirt off them. And that's not my headache, that's Eddie's. But that's a lovely headache to have. And that you want that all around the team. I mean, Joe Willock was really disappointed to come off last night. And it's good to see players' disappointment. The cameras want to put it on and see your players overreact and see them split the dummy out and have a pop and throw boots like I used to do when I was a player. You know, that's not good television. I mean, it's great television for them watching at home, but you want the player to be disappointed in the way that you don't want to come out of the team. And that's great to see that in the competition. And like you say, the substitutes that went on, the job that the manager asked them, they had a total job to do. Even Miggy, when he come on, and Miggy turned around and says, 5 and 5, that's what we're playing, 5 and 5. And him running up front, chasing lost causes, do what you have to do that professional job that we went home and hosed, not at a hack canter, not at crawling over the line, but as a professional team. I never thought we were in doubt, even though we did have scares. And Eddie said, I think, in the press conference or post-match, that he'll have a look at them scares. But I've never seen a team not come into a game of professional football. I've never seen a team come into a game in any game of football. There's always a chance for the other team to come into it and score. You never have 100% possession. You know, so we weathered the storm, and that professional performance is up there with the best I've seen, especially when Eddie threw his stall out and he went, there you go, come and beat us. There's the gauntlet, get past us. And he couldn't. Arteta couldn't. They couldn't get past Newcastle United. They couldn't get past the crowd, because there was, however many fans that they had at Arsenal last night. We outshouted them all game. I could hear Newcastle United supporters all game. And I tell you what, Eddie deserves that cigar. I'll light it for you, Eddie.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And Dan Byrne might be a bit premature, but if he does get his suit measured, it's going to take 2 people. And some great memes and some great things flying around. Joe, the magpie with Arteta there, and anyhow taking out the 2 North London managers for a walk on his reins. Some great stuff flying around.
Tell us about the ball. What happened about the ball?
Well, he's complained about the ball. He says, because we use a different ball in the Carabao Cup, that didn't help last night. I mean,
By the way, the wind ridiculous. Was gone north to northwest. Did he complain about that as well?
Hey, listen, he'll twist on 21, that guy. He just can't give Eddie Howe any praise. That's his lookout. We'll see what he blames in the return leg. A couple of questions have come in by Joe. We'll deal with them after this ad break.
A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. Contact them at their website, skipsandbins.com, or email www.skipsandbins.com/contact. Big thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. You can find them at mrvickies.co.uk. Email them info@mrvickies.co.uk. Telephone 01768 210 102. Thanks to our fanzine sponsor, United Group Travel. Travel and Tourism Award winners 2024. 2-crew driver and courier, local family company, 3-star plus quality hotels and no interchanges, all excursions included. Find them at their website, www.unitedgrouptravel.com, email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com, telephone 01670 632 460 or mobile 0791 666 4174. A big thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the technical side of things. Their website is media-arts.co.uk. And we're also available as a podcast. You can find us on Sports Social, Podcast Network, iTunes, Spotify, and other podcast providers. If you want to help the channel, then hit the subscribe button. We do 7 shows a week. Hit the thumb up that likes each video, and click share to share to your social media. Some Newcastle United events coming up. An evening with the entertainers, 24th of January 2025. Box office number is 0191 243 1171. Or website, Tyne Theatre and Opera House.uk. An evening with Lee Clark takes place on the 31st of January at the Tyneside Irish Centre. Tickets are available on Voucher or from newcastlelegends.com. An afternoon with Sir Les Ferdinand takes place on the 6th of April 2025, 12 p.m. till 4 p.m, and that's at the O2 City Hall in Newcastle. Tickets from www.ticketmaster.co.uk or from Voucher. And did you get a book voucher for Christmas? Then why not buy The Entertainers, 1992 to 1997, Kevin Keegan's Legacy by Will Scott. Priced $18.99. Also available from newcastlelegends.com.
Okay, welcome back to NUFC Matters. It is the Joe Allon Show. James Slater says, gotta love Arteta tapping his watch in the 82nd minute, checking how much time was left, and the home fans filing out of the stadium on live terrestrial television. There is probably only one word that you can describe Arteta with at times, and I think this tweet summed it up perfectly. There we go. Thank you to EPL Bible for that. It's a classic. Sometimes you don't need words, Joe.
That's perfect.
Couple of questions. Jasmine Black, good afternoon, says, who did Joe play his England youth game against, and where was it played? You've mentioned this a couple of times about getting your first and last cap on the same day. Joe, tell us about it.
The only player in the world ever to get 2 caps on the same day, my first and my last. No. I played the Republic of Ireland in a European under-21 international qualifying game. I was 19 at the time for it's an under-19 tournament, but you obviously, the older you get, that's the European Championship sort of thing. Yeah. We played at a place called Tucker Park, which is in Dublin. And we lost 1-0. I hit the bar from 25 yards, and their winner was scored by a player called Niall Quinn, who's a lovely lad, but I'll never forgive him for that.
Lego Heat didn't complain about the ball in the previous Carabao Cup round, says
Lego Heat.
Alan says, Steve Arteta didn't complain about the ball in the last round when they beat Crystal Palace. Funny that. And breaking news, Graham Potter is to take over at West Ham, Joe. Breaking news. What do you think about Potter going there? I mean, he's took his time. I mean, he knocked Ajax back recently as well.
Well, to be honest, I'm not a Graham Potter fan, so good luck to West Ham. But I did see that
more Harry Potter, Joe. More Harry Potter.
Harry Potter, aye. Well, the thing was, Harry Potter could wave the magic wand, and it used to work. He'll have to wave the magic wand at West Ham because they're in a massive battle. But at the end of the day, the manager took training this morning, previous, shall we say, and the press conference was cancelled that he would have normally done today. So the writing was on the wall for him, to be fair. Apparently, he's also had talks, Potter, with Everton, and Dyche's future was cast in doubt as little as last night, like in one of the programs, and Dyche's interview was brilliant, saying that, you know, it's there for clubs, the change managers, you know, that they have a due diligence to have people in place to take over if things don't work out, and it's their choice. And I just thought it was very refreshing at Dyche. I think he's a great manager, Dyche. I think he you know, he should be allowed to keep the Everton job. They should get money to spend for him. But at the end of the day, he's not my problem. West Ham's not my problem. And Arteta's certainly not my problem, because he can go and where the sun doesn't shine, you know. But at the end of the day, we've done the job on them. He can hide the sour grapes as much as he wants. What I wanted to say was, we haven't mentioned 4 players because we've mentioned everybody else. The 2 fullbacks were superb in Livramento and Hall, right? And there you go for them too, especially Lewis Hall, who I know that he's one of your favourites. And he's got the world at his feet, that boy, because there's no England left back at the minute. That position's been up for grabs. I mean, they had a player who'd been injured for over a year that's come back into the Euros, Luke Shaw from Man United, and ever since he's never been fit for Man United. So it's there for Lewis Hall to take that shirt, and he could get that shirt and have it for years and years to come. And in Tino, I see a player with so much potential and his ability that he's got, and he's starting to prove that, you know, and it's there for him as well in international football. And these are 2 lads that we've gotten, yes, from Chelsea. We paid a lot of money for them. And the thing, like you said, Steve, people don't realise that they're still kids, you know. They're still young professional players coming through and making the way in the game. And the other 2 players that I wanted to mention that put great shifts in as well, Big Joe, and everybody's not his favourite, Jacob Murphy, but I thought Jacob Murphy was very, very clever the way he played last night. And I thought he was also brilliant in the last 2 games that he played for us, because he'd done the nasty side of football, if you like. It's great going forward when you've got the ball, and when you're blessed with Jacob Murphy's pace, all he has to do sometimes is kick the ball and run after it, because he's electric, the boy. But he's been doing pretty much the wing-back role, you know, and it's been very, very important to help out and setting up the stall that, like I keep on saying, that Eddie is getting so right, but without the players to do it, you know, you can't have it to have success. And the success that we've had is just going to show the last results that we have, which I'm running out of how many times that we've been unbeaten. It's getting that many. And I'm thinking, when's the next time we're going to get beat? Because I'm thinking we've got some great games in the league coming up. We've got some great games in the FA Cup on Sunday, you know, and I can see us winning the next 4 games. But I'm thinking, I'm not putting too much pressure on them. Let's take 1 game at a time. But I'm enjoying it that much. It's great to see, you know, and I can see things like, yes, a relevant place now that it's even 5 places for a Champions League spot. And I'm still saying that our name is on the Carabao Cup. And I'll go back to that until we get beat. And I think it's the best chance we'll have for silverware for a hell of a long time.
Yeah, I would agree with you, mate, 100%. Thanks for all your comments coming in, and still a couple of questions to get through as well. Just want to point out, John Gibson, Gibbo, will be back tomorrow night. He's had his Christmas sabbatical. He will be back at 6 o'clock tomorrow night. Looking ahead, of course, to the FA Cup coming up, which me and Joe will be doing in due course. Jasmine, thank you for this. Who did Joe play his England youth game against and where it was played? It was the original question, but you also want to know... who else would we know? It was Dave who asked this one. And Joe's Youth International, did he have any teammates that we might know? Anybody in there who went on to play football on a regular basis, Joe?
Tony Adams would be captain. So Tony Adams, 2 years later, was playing for England in the big European Championships when he got turned inside out of Van Basten, if you can remember.
Yeah.
Michael Thomas, who played for Arsenal and Liverpool. Our very own Mr. John Beresford was left full-back with us when we got the train down together. Obviously, he never bought out. That's Bez. Sheffield boy, Yorkshireman, through and through. Still got his christening money. Looks under his bed to see if he's lost any sleep. I mean, there you go. But we had Tim Flowers, the goalkeeper, who went on to get a Premier League title medal with Blackburn Rovers and played with Big Al. at Blackburn. We had other players called Jason Dizelle, who was an Ipswich superstar as a youngster. He played for Ipswich as like a 16-year-old back in the day under Sir Bobby. I think was at the club at the time when Jason Dizelle was a youngster coming through in the early 80s. And off the top of my head, I kind of think of many more players. The couple of the West Ham boys, Kevin Keane and Stephen Potts, who went on to be, I think they played over 300 games for West Ham United, centre-half and midfield player. But we had a winger who was brilliant called David Rocastle at Arsenal, who sadly passed away. And David Rocastle was an absolute superstar and the most gentlemanly person, I swear to you, that I've ever come across as a youngster. So humble, and what a wonderful, wonderful talent, and left this earth far too early. Them's the ones I can remember, mate.
Great stuff, mate. Thank you for that. And did have another question as well before we start looking ahead to the FA Cup. Alan Thompson says, Joe, question: do you think this is the best midfield Newcastle United has ever had?
Well, it's up there, you know, because you've got to say, you know, results mean everything. It's a results business, and in this midfield, it hasn't been without its ups and downs, you know. But they're settled, I think, the way that, you know, that there's even players can come in and rotate and they know what jobs they've got to do. It's like it's an oiled machine now, you know. And if there has to be a change, like Bruno going out, you've got somebody to come in that knows what his role's going to be, you know. And if it's changing people around within that midfield, they know what role they've got to play. And that's down to Eddie, and that's down to the hard work on the training pitch, you know. And I think more and more, like you say, Steve, the way Tonali, he's grabbing a hold of it. And I think he's commanding, his presence is commanding and really getting that midfield. But, you know, you can always say about midfields like the Entertainers midfield, you know, which was, you know, a fabulous midfield. So I'd like to say this one might be the best midfield we've ever had since we've won a trophy.
Yeah, I think you're right, mate. When you hear somebody like Rob Lee today, you know, waxing lyrical about the team, it's absolutely fantastic. Andrew says, in my lifetime, this midfield is only battered by Batty, Lee and Beardsley when he was playing a bit deeper. It's good shout, Andrew. The Entertainers was something. I mean, Rob Lee, Gary Speed, you know, Batty, Beardsley, you know, Lee Clark has to get a mention as well, because Clarkey was absolutely superb. In fact, it still banes me that he got dropped and Beardsley got moved for that year that we should have won the league. Read about it in the Entertainers book. Lots of opinions from lots of people on that. Stephen Kennedy mentioned this earlier as well. And he says, is it true Arteta blamed the ball for the defeat, or someone yanked on my chain? He certainly did, Stephen. He says, if it's true, he needs to start being nice towards Newcastle, because in several years' time, when we've won the league, both cups and the Champions League under Eddie, and he moves to Real Madrid or Bayern, Arteta will be throwing in his CV. And he'll have to start licking up to us. No one likes sour grapes, apart from the sweets, of course. They're very nice. And Tom says, Martin Dubravka has an agreement in principle with Al-Shabaab over contract terms. He's waiting for Newcastle's final decision, green light, before joining the Saudi Pro League. So I don't think we will see Dubravka leave unless there's a keeper comes in. The keeper that is likely to come in is probably Trafford from Burnley. Newcastle have been much publicised with that one. You know, certainly fancies Trafford. So I guess Eddie Howe will always be reluctant to let a player go, but if a player comes in, if Trafford stamp, I think that's a good replacement, and especially if we get money.
Two goalkeepers for Steve.
I think that was all part of PSR, mate. I don't think that Odysseus was brought in with any kind of strategy to play him. I don't think that was a signing for anything other than PSR. Similar to the fact that we sold Minty and Anderson for exactly the same reason. It's quite clear that he doesn't fancy him. He doesn't want him, and it's one of those situations. It's awful, really, that happens. But that's what these rules end up doing. It causes people to buy players that don't actually want. And selling players, you know, because a player won't let a deal happen if you don't do something for them. Do you know what I mean? It's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous situation, but that's where we're at. Jeff says, what do you think of the new kits these days, Joe? You know, bearing in mind back in your day, we had 2 strips. And nowadays, you've got different kits, different colours. What do you think of all that?
Well, I mean, it's great for the club because the fans are going to buy them, But at the end of the day, I think there should just be one away kit. I think it's a disgrace that the fans get put under pressure, with the white kit, the red and blue kit. Back in our day, we had a black and white one, and the one year we had that silver kit, which I managed to wear. And put it this way, it flattered parts of the body that some places, never got looked at. Because them shorts were that tight, I was doing like soprano for about 30 minutes of one game because they didn't really have much room for anything. Put it that way. They wouldn't have looked very good on John Barnes.
Barry says Forest fans have said they refused the deal for Anderson. Pay or now if we didn't buy the keeper over 5 years. Thanks, Barry. Good
Right.
information on that. We are that good we can play without a goal, he says Jasmine. Rushy keeper. Gary, this is a great one. He says, does anyone think that Dan Burn should get an England call-up, even if it's just to train with the squad? I mean, it's, he's at the wrong age spectrum, I guess, to be a regular for England. But I mean, it would be a wonderful testament to everything that he's done and achieved at Newcastle, wouldn't it? And new manager, new ideas. You never know, do you?
Hey, at the end of the day, Dan can just keep on going out and performing the way he does. I mean, depending on an England manager, if he was an English man, you'd want a centre half. For me, he heads it and he kicks it, and he puts his head in places where you shouldn't, Dan Burn does all of that and more. Like I said, he puts his body on the line, not just in one game, in every single game he plays, and he's a great servant for the club, but also he's a great player as well. And for Dan to do what he does week in, week out, at the end of the day, he can just keep on performing to the best of his ability. But I would have thought being an overseas manager in Tuchel, he wouldn't go for a centre-half in a stopper mode like Dan is.
Yeah, I think, ultimately, players who perform on a regular basis in England should be the ones who the manager looks at. I mean, it should be the easiest job, but I get it. Sometimes you have to manage like a club manager would do, and you have to have your regulars, you have to have your captain, you have to have this, you have to have that. But we play that many meaningless friendlies sometimes. It might be worth just keeping an eye on Dan Burn. You never know. It would be one of those things. It would be great. It would be great to see, and I'm sure he would be buzzing. Certainly, he would be full of Geordie pride if that was the case. Okay, let's look ahead to the match at the weekend. Newcastle United are in FA Cup action, and it's Sunday. Any of you who are out there thinking, "Oh, can I wait for the match on Saturday?" Like I was at the start of the week, it's actually on Sunday. It's a 3:00 kickoff. It is the third round home tie against League Two Bromley. This will be the first ever meeting of the two clubs, with the Ravens promoted to the Football League for the first time via the National League playoffs back in May. The visitors were allocated 4,900 tickets, but it doesn't look as if they've sold that many, meaning that unsold tickets could be made available to home fans. So keep an eye out if you are still searching for a ticket. Who's the manager? Well, it is Andy Woodman, who's a former Newcastle United coach, and they reached the third round for the first time thanks to a 4-3 first round win at Rochdale that was followed by a 2-1 second round success at Solihull Moors. The draw ends a run of 5 successive away ties for Newcastle United, whose last FA Cup tie at St James's Park, of course, was the 1-0 defeat to Cambridge United in January 2022, which is the only time that Eddie Howe has overseen a home tie in the competition previously. The winners of this tie will take their place in the fourth round draw, which will be live on BBC One following the coverage of Arsenal versus Liverpool on Sunday, which, like our game, is also a 3:00 kickoff. With no replays, ties are settled via extra time if drawn at 90 minutes and penalties if a draw at 120 minutes. Early team news, Fabian Schär and Bruno Gomes will both be available following suspension. Nick Pope, Jamal Lascelles, Emil Kraft and Callum Wilson all remain sidelined. And as for Bromley, a 4-1 defeat at Crewe on Sunday was Bromley's first League Two defeat in 13 games. They finished with 10 men following the dismissal of Kamal Grant. The 21-year-old defender has earned praise while on loan from Millwall, but is set to be suspended for the match at St James's Park at the weekend. Top scorer this season with 13 goals in all competitions is Michael Cheek, who has over a century of strikes to his name since arriving from Ebbsfleet United in 2018. And the 33-year-old forward made his Football League debut last August and scored Bromley's first ever EFL goal. Marcus Denanga was on target against Newcastle following a pre-season game in 2023 while at Gateshead, whereas fellow striker Ofila Olmola meanwhile played for Newcastle under-18s as a trialist back in 2014. Defender Carl Jenkinson, well, he's previously appeared at Gallagher in the colours of Arsenal and West Ham, wisely getting out of the way of Jonas Gutierrez, memorably firing home his winner against them in 2015. Referee, well, it's Will Finney. He's from Bedfordshire. He's been taking charge of EFL games since 2019 and made his championship bow last April. The only previous game he's refereed that nufc.com could find involving Newcastle was a Premier League 2 game against Southampton that finished 1-1 back in 2019. There will be no VAR applicable at the weekend, and live TV coverage of this game will be on BBC iPlayer and on the BBC Red Button. If you're going into town, pop into Wonder Bar in the Gate, or the Dog and Parrot on Clayton Street West, or the Prince on Pudding Chair, and you'll be able to watch the match. Or just stop in the house and watch it if you've got the facilities to do so. So, Joe, going to be interesting because Newcastle really, they've got players. Some of the players will be running on empty. Some players were definitely spent last night, and after this wonderful run, it's a great opportunity for Newcastle to play some players who just not been getting a look in. I mean, Lewis Miley, for example, springs to mind. Sean Longstaff hasn't been getting a look in recent times. Odysseus, the goalkeeper, who you keep mentioning, potentially could feature tonight on Sunday. Sorry, and then you've also got one or two other players who aren't getting that regular run, like Kieran Trippier. Great player to bring in. Bruno Guimaraes, of course, missed the game last night. Is he going to keep him ticking over? Fabian Schär's been suspended. Is he going to play him because he's missed the last couple of games? It gives Botman a rest. Some players will play every game and want to play every game. Is he going to play Alexander Isak? Is he going to want to score, another goal and keep the run going? Lots of questions to ask, Joe, and can't take the League Two team for granted because that's what the FA Cup's infamous for, shocks.
Hey, at the end of the day, Steve, there's always a banana skin in the FA Cup. I've been on the end of a banana skin. I played for Port Vale. We were in the first division at the time, the Championship as it's called now. And we played Scarborough away. And we thought it was just going to be a walkover, Scarborough were a non-league team. And we come unstuck. So there's always going to be a banana skin. And I can remember managers at the big clubs that I did play for, they'd be saying, always, before you went out of the game, make sure that you're not the one that's getting the headlines. Because if we see, which we will do, Hereford United and Ronnie and Radford scoring again, right? And I tell you, they must have this just for us to put on every single time. It's back in the bloody early 70s, but they're still holding on to that. And that, for the likes of Bob Moncur and Supermac, must be like, oh, no, not again. We're here. But that is the glory of the FA Cup. Granted, there will be banana skins, but I do think that Newcastle United will put a professional side out. He might start a strong side, but at the same time, he'll have players that can come in if things aren't going right. It's all right to get changed. You can sit on the bench. It's not like, oh, you're sitting in the stand and having a rest. You might not have to come on. The beauty in the FA Cup, it's like the league, I believe, is it not? That you can have 5 substitutions. So there's plenty of scope for players to come in. But I think it is an honest opportunity for Eddie to turn around to some of the players that he has got in the squad and say, right, you're playing against Bromley, go out and show us, like I said before, what you've got. And that's a chance for a player to make a mark, and it's a chance for them to play at St James's Park. There'll be 50,000 there straight away. So that in itself at St James's Park is an occasion. You know, the third round of the FA Cup at home. It doesn't care who you play. You know, Newcastle United will want to win, and the fans will want them to win more than anything else. It's a game that, you know, we should really get out the way and get into the hat for the next round, and then worry about the next game in the Premier League. But certainly, this is the game where players should be blooded and getting a run out, definitely.
Yeah, I would agree. Barry is talking about Botman in the chat. Barry, Botman's never been quick, mate. He's not a fast player. That was just something that people seem to pick up on. I tell you where it came from, Barry. It's because we had 14 years of a poor or average team. Take away that blip, which we had under Pardew. I think we were so used to watching bang average centre halves that when Botman came in, he looked like a world beater. And we all thought, this is somebody who's quick, he's this, he's that, he's the other. But I think as the team has got better around him, and he plays on a regular basis again, he's not quick, he's a good defender, he reads the game well. Those 2 block tackles he put in last night, and if you watch them back, puts his body on the line, puts his body in the way, and those 2 block tackles were just as important as the 2 goals that were scored. Botman was superb last night. But no, he's not the fastest. Quick in the brain, Jasmine, you're right. 100% quick in the brain. But we do need somebody with a bit of pace alongside him moving forward. For me at the moment, you know, I think we could still get another season out of this partnership of Botman and Burton, or Botman and Shaw, or Burn and Shaw, whichever one ends up being involved. I think Kelly will come good. I think there's enough to show how he's starting to trust him. He put Kelly on last night with 25 minutes to go plus extra time. That's a hell of a risk if he doesn't trust the player or he doesn't fancy a player. That's a hell of a risk to hire him in and make, because he took the pace out of the team. Willock came off. Was it Murphy come off? He took pace out of the team. Isaac come off, and he put on Longstaff. He put on Kelly. You know, you're thinking, what is he doing? But it worked. Joe mentioned that right at the top of the show. So no, I've gone on a little bit too long there on that one. But Botman, for me, honestly, great player, will be a great player for us, and he'll be there when we lift that first trophy, 100%. It's a bit difficult asking for a prediction, Joe, and so I'm probably going to swerve it on the FA Cup because they're an unknown quantity. All I'll say, and I'm sure you probably agree, is Newcastle should progress to the 4th round if they do their job properly.
That's it. I mean, all you can do is beat what's in front of you. I think we'll win 3-0. I really think that whatever side that Eddie puts out, you know, you've got to remember, they're coming into a team, whatever players in the squad get a game, they're coming into a team that's playing at the top of the game. They're playing with unbelievable confidence. You spoke about the dressing room. That's infectious. Without a shadow of a doubt, it's infectious. And it's great when you're going into work every day and you haven't been beaten. And it's even better when you're on a run like Newcastle United are at the minute. Trust us, it'll be fun in games at Newcastle United at the minute. And it'll be a pleasure, which it was a pleasure for me to go into work every single day, being a professional footballer and actually getting paid. Can you imagine getting paid to play professional football? I would have paid to play professional football. But, you know, nowadays, when you're in there and you're getting this dressing room and the culture and things like that, it's just infectious that the stuff that, you know, it's dreams are made of, you know, and the atmosphere of anybody coming into that side, they'll know, but you've got 52,000 fans as well. On your back, waving black and white scarves. It just doesn't get any better than that, Steve.
It doesn't. Joe, as always, absolute pleasure, mate, to have you on the show. We will work out a time and place next week. We won't be on Wednesday next week because, certainly not late on at night because Newcastle play Wolves next Wednesday. But we'll get you on next week, mate, in some way, shape or form. Thanks for your time. See you next week.
God bless, mate. Thank you.